In honor of Black History Month, Fox 4 sharing stories of African Americans who've done some amazing things here in Southwest Florida, and we're featuring one of those pioneers tonight.
His name is Eddie Hardin. By all accounts, he's the first black firefighter to work in Lee County. Fox 4's Rochelle Aline spoke with his family about his work and his legacy.
When there's a fire and we call for help, we're all pretty used to seeing people of all shapes, sizes, and colors coming to our rescue. But there was a time in Southwest Florida when that wasn't always the case.
My father was always an overachiever.
The Hardin family remembers that time all too well.
Actually, I did not want him to go into the fire department because I thought it was dangerous.
Despite her best efforts, in 1974, Carolyn Hardin's husband, Eddie, signed up to be a firefighter with the Lee County Port Authority.
He thought it was going in just to be a fireman, and actually God was just using him to open the doors for people of color to come behind him.
Carolyn and her family say Eddie took to the job immediately. He was the kind of fireman who would spend an hour looking for a person trapped in a burning building or pull a stranger from a burning car on his day off.
And he just went on about his business like it was no big deal. And here we hear about it a few days later, on TV, and we're like, okay, you weren't going to tell us about it? And the first thing that came out of his mouth was, that's just my job.
But being the first in 1974 wasn't always easy for Eddie.
He did not get the opportunity to sleep in the bunkers at first with the other firefighters. He had to sleep on a cot in the locker room. He had to bring his own utensils and fork and plate to eat off of.
It really hurt me that he was being treated the way he was being treated, because after all, even though he's a black man, he was a human being.
But Eddie didn't let that stop him.
He was determined. He said he was not going to let that run him away.
The Navy veteran and preacher would go on to spend 20 years with the Port Authority's fire team before an illness slowed him down. In 1992, Hardin went in for a heart transplant, and though successful at first, his body rejected the organ 2 years later, and he passed away.
Otherwise, he probably would have just be retiring now.
His family says they hope that by sharing his story, they will encourage the next generation to reach a little further and aim a little higher.
My dad would probably tell people we should learn to aspire to inspire people before we expire.
In Cape Coral, Rochelle Aline, Fox 4, in your corner.